Hello again everyone. It seems like kind of a while since I last did a commentary video. Then again, I have like no sense of time, so yeah. Anyways, this video is mostly going to be going over the things Toby has done that aren't in regards to the whole Omnia Kai situation because I feel like it's their deal and I don't really have much to say on it anyways. By the way, sorry for the lack of content recently. I have just not been doing great and I am extremely stressed about schoolwork, so that was pretty unepic. But anyways, I'm going to write a script and record it and make it a video, cause yeah. Sorry if this is messy or disorganized in any way. I'm kind of like not ballin' right now and my brain is really scrambled, so I'm not in the best kind of thinking mode right now, but anyways, let's just get right into the video.
Cause it's my movie, my superhero movie, it's all about me.
So if you didn't know the whole situation, there's this YouTuber by the name of Toby whose quote-unquote claim to fame is her video criticizing creepshow art, and other than that, she makes rants and speed paints like, you know, a typical art channel. Recently, she's been getting more and more criticism from her fans and other creators due to a lot of hypocrisy she's displayed morally, and the main two were creators by the names of Omnia and Kai Weiss, who made a collaboration video on the subject and each made their own individual video. In the collaboration, they discuss several of her moral fallacies, which include her making a rant against inappropriate art of minors, even though Toby herself has drawn a child in an inappropriate situation, aka Todoroki from My Hero Academia, who is 16, her support and defense of Shane Dawson, and her pretty prominent inability to take criticism, and her constant engagement with the hate comments she gets. In Toby's response video, she did try to defend herself, making the art involving a minor, using the excuse I didn't know his age, as well as I aged him up, which, you know, kinda contradict each other. There are some other aspects of her response I'll cover, such as her falsely saying that Omnia and Kai tried to paint her as a child littler, I guess, but basically she's done a lot of pretty hypocritical things, which I'll be giving my opinions on in the video. And there's a lot more that I won't really cover here, either because I'm not very educated on the topic, such as the mental health aspect of everything, or simply because I don't really feel that I have the ability to comment on it properly due to my lack of opinion.
Bet they won't have. Wow, they have it! Lazy!
So on November 22nd of last year, Toby made this drawing of Todoroki from My Hero Academia. This piece is obviously kind of sexually charged, especially paired with the abundant amount of yaoi hashtags and the outfit Todoroki is in, plus the caption she used on Twitter, which was "hit him harder." Honestly, the piece kind of makes me uncomfortable to look at, knowing the guy is like literally 16, but Toby has a plethora of defenses against why she drew this. One being that she didn't know he was 16. She claimed that it was simply, you know, she was given the character to draw and she didn't look up his age because he looked like an adult in the anime, which I guess is semi-believable. I mean, animes can be kind of ambiguous when it comes to teenage characters, as some do look a lot older than they actually are, but as a general rule of thumb, if I were to do NSFW art commissions, I'd look up characters' ages before drawing them, especially if they're from an anime where the setting is a school. She also said that she aged him up in the photo, which contradicts her previous statement of not knowing how old he was, because, you know, if you didn't know how old he was and assumed he was of age, why would you have to age him up? I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And the piece doesn't even look like it was aged up in any way, like, he literally just looks the exact same. Even so, the idea of aging up underage characters just to draw them in lewd situations is only applicable if there's, like, definite features of them being aged, and even then that's pretty iffy. Like, if the character's facial structure, body shape, etc. are all completely indicative of them being an adult, then it's still not the greatest, but it's better than just drawing the character as is, I guess. Which is what Toby did here, just draw him just the exact same as I mentioned before. Obviously, there's a lot of pieces that are far worse than this one, but the argument of there are things that are way worse isn't very valid, as this is a bit of a hypocritical situation when Toby did make a video where she basically kind of said, if you draw children in lewd situations, you're a child diddler. Also, another argument Toby used to defend the drawing was that it was supposed to be not lewd, rather a dark piece about abuse, and that she only tagged it the way she did because she quote-unquote didn't know how tags worked. First of all, how exactly is the caption "hit him harder" an appropriate thing to put on a piece about abuse? Like, I don't know, it feels kinda wrong to have that as a caption if that was the intent of the piece, which I do doubt. There's also the aspect of him, like, wearing a dog collar, and I'm assuming is leather showing his chest, and I don't know, that seems, again, out of place in a piece that's supposed to be about abuse. I'm just saying. Also, if you claim to not know the character, why make the piece, like, dark and about a serious subject? I don't doubt that she didn't know the character, by the way. It's entirely plausible. I just find it kind of odd that you choose a completely random character you know nothing about to make a dark piece with. I'm just gonna say I've never watched My Hero Academia, and I do not know the extent of his backstory, but the wiki I read did say he had an abusive upbringing, so even if you did know the character but somehow didn't know his age and wanted to use him in a piece about abuse, why wouldn't you draw it in relation to his actual, like, character backstory? I don't know. Also, he has hickeys. And by the way, I didn't even get to the part about the tags, like, oh man. man. We have several pertaining to yaoi and BDSM. So I'm assuming what Toby meant by not knowing how to tag things was just her assuming that you tag the post with anything that could remotely fit the piece, but if the piece was about abuse as you so claim, where are those tags? It doesn't make sense. Also, here's my advice regarding making that video where you denounced the people that made those drawings, because I do feel like the points in those videos were valid and it shouldn't be completely discredited because of kind of an old piece. I mean, it's not that old, but like, you know. One, it's a possibility that she forgot about the drawing, which is fine because opinions and views on things change, and I too have a bunch of regrettable things I drew like 2 years ago. And it would have been good if in a response she had actually like apologized for drawing it and explained that she no longer stands by it and that it was a mistake. The not knowing the age thing could have totally passed too, but she had to defend it, which was an odd choice if you ask me. Secondly, if she'd remembered drawing it at the time of making her video, she could have addressed it like, I've drawn some stuff in the past that I now realize is pretty bad, so just know that I absolutely no longer stand by that, and then just continue on with the video. I don't know, it's pretty simple just to get that over with because it is kind of old, and like I said, people understand that opinions change. In her response, she also falsely claimed that Omni and Kai tried to paint her as a child diddler, which isn't true. They simply used her own logic against her and even outright stated that's not at all what they thought of her. She really hit that point really hard in the video because I think that was like the strongest point she had in her mind, and you know, she just wanted to go really hard on it. She was going on about how disgusting and scummy it was for them to say that about her, even though like literally in the video they said that's not at all what they were implying, rather they were using it to highlight her own hypocrisy in the situation. She either intentionally completely misrepresented the situation, which I find kind of likely, or just kind of missed the part where they made it very clear they weren't accusing her of anything. Either way, her trying to falsely accuse them of being false accusers wasn't a great move, because, you know, false accusations of any flavor just do not work. Anyways, wow, this part was really long, sorry about that, and moving on. Toby seems to have a bad habit of constantly responding to hate comments, blowing off criticism, and sometimes just putting hate comments on blast in her community tab, which isn't the best way to respond to that kind of thing if you ask me. Like, there was like this one comment that was just asking her to reword some things because it said it made him uncomfortable, and she responded to that by just refusing to listen. By the way, before going any further, I do recognize that I totally used to do the same thing, blowing off criticism, just constantly getting into fights with hate commenters, all of that. And it was a lame decision because not only was it extremely unprofessional on my end, it was just a lot of wasted time or energy I could have used towards either taking the criticism that was presented to me or just not being mad over someone whose only intent was to make me feel bad. I can't remember the extent of a lot of the arguments, but I do know a lot were extremely petty, and it would have done me a lot of good to just let sleeping dogs lie, so to speak, so I guess I can apply my own experiences here and saying that to Toby, who I doubt will actually watch this. Arguments and comments can be really tempting, but it is just simply not worth it in the end. Especially the putting them on blast part, because all that does is lead to more fights and more people dogpiling and just doesn't look good in the slightest. And if you get a piece of criticism you don't agree with, you can politely disagree and state why you felt that way instead of, you know, insulting someone and downplaying their concerns. It can be hard to look at your own work from an outside perspective, but it is worth it. If you can't disagree in a polite and/or professional manner with a piece of criticism you're given, it's best to just simply not respond at all. Especially if someone is genuinely trying to help you avoid make mistakes in the future and whatnot. It's counterproductive and it may feel good at the time getting into arguments, but it generally just makes you look hot-headed, immature, and stubborn. If you simply can't just not respond, maybe it's just good to not read comments anymore, I don't know. People in comments tend to react strongly from what I've seen in both directions. There are gonna be people who praise you like the sun and swear you're the best thing since sliced bread, and then there are the people who want to see you go to hell and simply just hate you, and neither opinion is the best to listen to. You don't want to sell yourself short, but you also don't want to oversell yourself, you know? Like, the realest comments in my opinion tend to be the lengthy ones that highlight things you did wrong while still making it clear they support you and enjoy the content. Public image aside, it's better to just not constantly be in a fight with some random stranger on the internet from my personal experience because it's just so draining. Like, yeah, you have a point to prove, but in reality getting into those fights is just ultimately pointless if one of you isn't up for an actual conversation, because at that point both parties are just wasting their time if one won't listen, which is something that has definitely happened to me. And if someone leaves you a hate comment, replying to them only furthers their desire to leave more comments because you're letting them know that they got under your skin, and then the people who are thinking of leaving hate comments see that and it's like, cycle just repeats itself again. If the person who you're replying to simply wanted to give criticism or express an opposing opinion in a reasonable manner, starting an argument is a great way to lose a fan too. Overall, it's a lose-lose situation, and if your inability to take criticism is that strong, maybe it's just best if you don't post videos online, because I say this a lot in my videos, if you can't handle criticism, you shouldn't be online, because no matter who you are, no matter what content you make, criticism is going to come your way, and so is any kind of negativity, because no matter what platform you're on and what size your platform is, people are just gonna hate you for no reason, and it's best if you just accept that instead of trying to get into dogfights with like every single one of them. So those are my thoughts on the whole situation. Hopefully this wasn't too scrambled of a video. I've been having a tough time with schoolwork and all that, so I've been pretty high-strung lately, and I'm not sure if forcing myself to like write a whole script and then make a video is the best way to spend my time, but business is business and I have to get things done. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, I make more content similar to it. Subscribing is free and refundable anytime, so I hope you can support me and check out my content at the same time. Win-win for both of us, and I hope you decide to check out my other videos. Anyway, that's all for today. Be sure to leave suggestions as to what you want to see covered below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.